Hi, this is Bruce Gordon with Webicator, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to create a WCF reference to a Silverlight front-end application. So in this solution that I've got here in Visual Studio 2010, Northwind Silverlight solution, I've created a Northwind Silverlight application, and along with that I've created a Northwind Silverlight.web that houses my service. Now the service I added using the WCF for Silverlight template, so it is specifically for connecting with the Silverlight front-end application. If I open up my service, we can take a look, and this shows the code that's used in my service, and simply all I'm really doing is making a call to the Northwind database using basic SQL statements, select statement, using a data reader, and then packaging the return into an employee object that I created. Take a quick look at the employee object here. This is the employee class. Using automatic properties, I've created properties for 4 of the columns that are in the employees table. And I'm taking this and putting it into a generic list of employee objects as a return for my web method, my WCF web method. So now let's take a look at the Silverlight front end. This is a Silverlight front end so far. It doesn't have much in it. It's just got a button and it has a list box. And my goal is that when the button's clicked, the list box will fill with items from the call to the web service. So the first thing I need to do is make a reference to the web service. So over here in Solution Explorer, I'm going to go into my Northwind Silverlight project, and I'm going to use the service references. The service references are specifically designed to create references to WCF services. So I'm going to right click and choose Add Service Reference. From the Add Service Reference, I'm just going to click on Discover. Since my web service project is in the same solution, it's very easy for Visual Studio to find that service. That's what I see listed here, the EndWin service. I'm going to give my service a unique namespace. This will be used when I go to write some code and call on the service. So I'm just going to call it NWS. There are some advanced options that we could choose. I can control how collection types are defined. Observable collection gives me better data binding capability, so I want to keep it that way. In fact, I'm not going to change any of the defaults. I'm just going to click on OK. Go ahead and click on OK here. Visual Studio does all the grunt work and creates classes inside this service. In particular, this reference CS file has got some classes defined that handle all of the grunt work of making XML calls to the web service and retrieving back the XML data and putting it into a nice object-oriented model for me to work with. So that's what I'm going to do now. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and write code for my load button. So I'm going to double click on it. That will create an event handler in the code behind in my Silverlight app. And now all I need to do is create an instance of the service that was just created for me by Visual Studio. So I'm going to go ahead and declare a variable. I'm going to call it proxy. I'm going to set it equal to a new instance using my namespace NWS. It's going to be an instance of this EndWin service client that is already highlighted. Now what I'm going to do is, using the proxy variable, when the service was created, it generated for me a few events, and in particular I've got this get all employees completed event that's going to occur when the service returns with the data that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and set up an callback method for when that event completes. And the nice thing about C# is I can just use the tab key to go ahead and create the event handler. And if I hit tab again, it'll create the event handler method for me. So there's my method. Now I want to replace the code that's inside this event handler method with code that's going to bind the results to my list. Now my list I named LST employees. I'm going to bind it to the items source property, and I'm going to simply bind it to the result here, E. I passed an argument into this return, this callback method, and I'm going to set it equal to E result. And that's really all I got to do. It's already strongly typed, the result property, so I don't need to do any type of casting. Now what I do need to do, though, is go back up into this method and make a call asynchronous call to my web method. Again, I'm going to use my proxy object, and this time I'm going to call the method getAllEmployeesAsync. So when getAllEmployeesAsync is called and it completes, the event will be raised, the getAllEmployeesCompleted event will be raised, which will then make a callback to here, and that should bind to my list box. I can go ahead and test that now, clicking on the run. And when I click on my load button, I see that I've got Northwind employee objects in my list. Now they're not formatted at all, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that. We'll do a little bit of formatting. I've got some pre-written XAML that I'm going to go ahead and add in here. And what I've got, this listbox item template, I'm going to add in to my listbox. So this will go into the XAML. This will go inside the listbox element. Simply add a little bit of space, paste that in. And as you can see, it's already set to bind first name and last name into text blocks, so that when I run it, I'll have it formatted with first name, then there's a space with this text block, and then the last text blocks will show the last name. So let's take a look and see if that works. So I'll go ahead and click load, and sure enough, I've got a list box with some nicely formatted items, employee items, in my list box. And I could get into a lot more about how to actually format this. I kept it pretty simple with text blocks, but there's really no limit into how I could actually display this information. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Once again, this is Bruce Gordon with Webucator.